Welcome back to another episode, City Life Uncensored. Super pumped today, brother. But of course, with the relationship, I've got to toss it over to BK here to give the special introduction and then hand it over to you. So, BK, what you got for us, man?
Yeah, man, we got our man Jesse Wig, real estate entrepreneur, owner of Atlas Estates. Jesse has a couple hundred rentals here in the city of Pittsburgh. Also, Lifespace Realty, boutique brokerage. Jesse's known for doing flips, just all over the real estate space. Anybody in Pittsburgh that's in a real estate game probably heard of this guy or seen him with the bow ties or heard about bow tie high. So,
or sick ass flips that he does in Mono.
Sick ass
I love them.
Yeah, the custom bow ties on on pretty much everything you do, every flip, right? Have some kind of bow tie.
It slipped, but yes, that was happening for a long time. Yes.
Oh, yeah, it slipped.
I know. There's more to it, but yeah, and I'll explain. But
yeah, man, welcome, man. We're super pumped to have you. And
excited to be here.
Yeah, like we always like to start, man. We like to get a little bit more about, so our listeners can hear a little bit more about you. Like, what was your come up, man? Like, how did you get started? Like,
give us the story, bro.
Okay. All right, the rundown. Okay, so I can be guilty of telling very long stories, which this is a podcast. So
I'll shut you up if I have to, but give us it all.
I'm much better at summarizing now, or at least I think I am. But
a lot of practice, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've told a lot. Yeah, but so let's see here. So probably about all right. So I went to college for criminal justice. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Was in that field for 2-3 years.
We just started off with a home run. Criminal justice, and here you are. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Oh man, I was working. Yes, I was working in that field.
So do you just show up and evict tenants yourself? Is that the?
No. So I was working at a juvenile delinquent independent group home, and I gotta tell you, man, like it was very sad to see how some of these kids lived or why they're there, and a lot of it wasn't even their fault. It's their home life, But to be very honest, is that it was a really toxic and negative atmosphere. And I was like,
how long were you there for?
3 years.
Right out of college?
Yeah. Okay. I started working there before I graduated. And I stayed there for a while and became like an assistant supervisor. And there was levels of it that I really enjoyed. I'm going to go too far down the road. It got to a point where the clients would advance to different stages before they left the area, the facility.
Like the juveniles.
Yep, that's right. And so the final stage was this section where like they had a lot of freedom. And basically, once I became an assistant supervisor, they just needed one staff in that unit. And but I could sleep from 11:30 p.m. till 7:30 a.m. and I got paid time and a half to sleep. They just needed someone on site. So there was benefits of it.
Some benefits.
And then you get to eat their food.
Hold on. So that's a benefit, right? But coming from the world that I know you come from, BK comes from, and I come from, right? It's the ultimate getting paid to sleep. Like
it was killer. Yes. I mean, it's a huge thing. And like, so I didn't make that much money, but the combination of getting paid to sleep, and then you're at the unit all day, every day. And so like oftentimes I'd work, 16 hours, like double shifts, or actually 24 hours because I work a double shift and I'd sleep. Right?
Sleep, yeah.
And so I'd get a ton of hours in a short amount of time there. But like you also ate all the food there. So like I didn't really since I would capitalize on the free food and sleeping to get paid. And so even though what I made wasn't a lot, I didn't have a lot of expenses.
Yeah. Plus, you're working 24 hours straight. Like you don't have much. There's nothing to spend money on.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's all going in savings.
Days in a week.
100%. Yeah. So so I was in that space. I realized it was a pretty toxic environment. I wanted to get out of it. I connected with an individual. I was living in Erie at the time. I connected with
any juveniles ever beat you up?
No. I had pretty good relationships with them, but.
You were sneaking into Siggy's for them?
Was there more than one occasion that you had to restrain them? And these, I'm not a big guy. Yeah. Some of the guys in there were substantially bigger than me. You're like fighting kids when get to your room. I ain't going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, so there'd be like 3 staff and put them in like I'm going to make up terms, but like a supine, like all these weird things.
Dude, I'll tell you a really quick story. Similarly, when I was younger, college, and even I went full-time after college, but I worked for the city of Pittsburgh doing baseball monitoring, and I did a game. I forget the name of the community, but it was a really, really rundown community. It was a gated community, and there was a fight both teams got in the middle of a fight. There was cops there who did nothing. They sat and watched. They were detectives in the community and were
Wow.
loud. So I was by myself trying to break up these two fights. I got beat up by kids, literally like punched in the face. Like, don't,
Wow.
yeah, it was
I
nuts.
know,
I'm like,
wild.
I've got to go find a real job and like
For
a
sure.
real
That
career.
was a
Part of
moment.
a couple
Yeah.
of those brawls in
Yeah.
the City League baseball.
Yeah, you probably beat me up,
There's-
jackass.
We jumped
It was part of the
an
kids.
ex-Steeler lineman. A bunch of us jumped him in
Wow.
Pony League. It was one of the kids' dads. It was
Pony
double
League, that
up.
means you were like 16.
I guess was 14, 15, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were old.
Yeah.
We were-
Anyway, sorry.
No, no, keep it going. Yeah, man. Wild times. So
Yeah, so you linked up with how'd you get into real estate?
yes,
man?
sir. Connected with an individual that was down here flipping homes in Pittsburgh. I said, hey, I want to get out of my job. And he's like, I can pay you $10 an hour to do punch lists on homes. I'm like, sounds good. So for 6 months, I drove back and forth. This was probably like,
Yeah, where are you from? Where were you?
I was living in Erie and drove a 2-hour drive.
Oh,
So
wow.
for 6 months, I did the 2-hour drive for work, right?
Every day
So what I would do
for $10
is,
an hour.
Yep. So and this was probably 9 years ago. Okay, maybe 8.
Yeah.
And yeah, probably 9. And so I would drive down and like no one's lit. These homes are vacant, right? And I didn't have construction experience, but I'm just an able body to
Mhm.
do random things, you know. And so I would drive down, then I would sleep in the vacant houses. Like I'd work as long as I can, sleep in the vacant house on an air mattress with a pizza in the microwave. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And that I'd bring with me or whatever. And then I'd wake up, I'd work as long as I can, then I'd drive back. So I'd only have to make, 4 trips a week or right or 2,
Yeah.
3 trips, whatever. So,
Yeah.
so started doing that for a while. And there's one story that I always tell, and I have to tell it because it's
Let's
like
go,
it's
baby.
a moment.
Give
right?
me it.
So like, I was at the point where I'm making $10 an hour. The agent that this developer flipper was working with at the time, they found tile flooring like 3 or 4 layers down in the kitchen. That was 1 inch by 1 inch tiles. Okay, and it was a 10-foot by 10-foot kitchen room.
Yeah, that's
right?
a lot of towel laying.
So when you see those 1 inch by 1 inch tiles, well, we use like some acid wash or something to try to get these grout lines clean because they're just black, right? You can't get them clean. And so the agent's like, we have to keep these. This will sell the house. So my job was I took a pillow, I laid on my chest with a dental tool, and I scraped out all those lines.
Wow.
And then so we did all that. It took me a week. I was on my chest for a week, and being like, what the hell am I doing? You know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that was a moment, right?
That was the aha.
What is happening? And so after I did that, then we grout it, and then you see a handful of spots I missed. So the black like popped up and didn't, So then we go back and scrape out as much as we can. Then, which would not hold up, right? But then there was sections I took a little paintbrush and I'm painting these little black marks here. So it was, but that happened, and I was like, I got to the point where I was like, man, I like real estate. I like the opportunity and the potential here, but like I can't be doing this.
Yeah.
So I was like, how do you flip homes? He's like, find a house that needs renovation, find some private money, and that like super vague, not knocking, but vague information. I was like, okay, cool.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I'll go try this for free
Yeah,
instead of making
exactly.
$10 an hour on my damn chest.
Yep. So living in Erie,
Are you from Erie originally?
no, I'm originally from Titusville,
Okay.
which is 2 hours north of here.
Yeah.
It's a real small town. I went to college at Edinburgh, so I ended up at Erie for a while. And
Fucking cold ass Edinburgh.
dude, so much snow, so cold.
Yeah, it's cold up there, man.
So I start to like pay attention to real estate. Start looking into real estate. I'm looking at houses, and I go to this open house that they were selling rent to own. Okay. I start talking to the guy, and I am a bit of a talker, and I'm getting going. And he's like, yeah, he's like, they were selling it as an owner finance, and I was interested in potentially buying it. We started talking. He's like, why do hard money lending, private money lending?
Mhm.
At that time, I literally
You didn't
no
know what it
idea.
was, yeah.
And so I started talking to more. I was like, whoa. So if I find a house that needs renovation, he's like, yeah, depending on the terms or whatever, like, how much you need, this and that. So skipping ahead, found let me bring this in. So started working with a real estate agent who is now my wife. Okay, so,
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
So Marissa,
To find you a deal at the time?
that's right,
Okay.
to find me a house. So,
Yeah.
so started working with Marissa, and then she found me a house, and I bought this house, and that private investor, hard money lender, only brought a certain amount of money, not the
Mhm.
whole amount, right?
Yep.
Didn't know you needed extra, and I had no money. I had no money. I was bar backing at the time. Okay.
Well, at least you're bar backing and not scrub.
I know.
Scrubbing
So,
one by
bar
ones.
backing's definitely respectable.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, so I found another friend who was willing to give me that extra $20,000 difference. And I had literally no idea, no experience, no knowledge. I was like, oh, I'll pay you 20%. So I, like, just so optimistic, like, oh, I'm going to flip it and make 500,000, you know, like.
So you basically got the extra 20 and then you said you'll get 20% of the profit.
No, I gave him a 20% APR. So he gave me 20 grand. I was like, how about a 20%
got it
interest rate? Right?
Yeah, cool. So you knew enough to take on debt and not the equity side early on, at least on the second.
Yeah. I like to say that was a strategic plan.
Yeah, a private second. I mean, it's especially right now with what's going on in the industry. It's one of the most like most of the coaches out there are really teaching, you know, carry back seconds. Like that's ultimately what you did with private money.
For sure.
And you had no damn clue what you were doing.
No idea. So flip the house with me and my buddy based off YouTube videos, skipping a ton of information. When that house was finished, okay, it was in Erie, Pennsylvania. Once I finished that house, I knew I wanted to stay in real estate, and but I wanted to move to Pittsburgh.
Did you make money on it?
Yeah.
So
okay,
so
all right. I thought you were skipping past the big part.
No,
the
I'll bring that
climax.
in. So when I finished it, it's on the market. I decided I want to stay in real estate. I moved to Pittsburgh. I get my real estate license. A year and a half later, when that house sold, okay, it took a year and a half to sell. I lost $43,000.
Wow. Okay.
So I had no money. I had no money. And then I didn't lose that money until the house closed, right?
Yep.
And so when I was talking to the hard money lender, they were like, listen, they were talking about short sales. I had zero knowledge. They were like, we can short sell this or whatever.
So the lender basically was like, look, I know you're upside down.
Yeah.
What year is this, by the way? I'm trying to get a time.
Let's do the probably what is it now? It's probably 2014 or 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, so about 7 years ago. 6, 7 years ago.
Okay, so maybe 2013. Probably 2013. That's my and so so I was like, no, I'll get it sold. So when it sold, this is how it went. When it sold and I closed, I owed 43 grand. Okay. Before it closed, well, at this point, I knew I was going to lose money, right? When it's a year and a half on the market.
Yeah.
Okay, so
you're paying 20% to your second position,
Exactly,
and you got the first position probably paying something.
It was like 12 or 13 or something like that, maybe even more.
Yeah.
And so I'm down here like as an agent hustling. I moved into this place super shitty in West Homestead. Why I ended up over there.
Okay.
I'm paying $300 a month for this house. It's 600 square feet on the side of a hill. Kitchen's in the basement. The heat doesn't work. In the middle of the night, heat turns off. I go downstairs, flip the switch, kicks back on for a while. Like, dude, just my pipes freeze. I don't have water for 2 weeks. You know, a bunch of stuff. And but I was doing that because I was like, I'm gonna lose money. I need to start saving money. So I'm working, hustling, making some money. So when the house did sell, I saved up like let's say 15 or 20 grand. Right, that was a lot to me.
Yeah.
And so I paid that at closing, and then I only owed another, let's say 20 grand, 23 grand, somewhere around there. Okay. Well, in the meantime, that year and a half I was down here, I bought a house over in Etna at foreclosure for like $3,000 or $4,000. And so when we closed on my flip, I went to that second position private investor, and I was like, listen, you can take a first mortgage against this property,
the new one,
just to secure you. Like, I need some more time. I'll make this up to you. And he's like, cool, sounds good. And so, when that ended up selling, I sold it for like 12 grand or something. I didn't do anything to it, just bought it and resold it, 6 months later, or 9 months later. And then I just hustled and saved some money and repaid him after a year and a half, or whatever it was. But I always say that, like, those investors, I stayed true to what I agreed to. Like,
yeah, so that was going to be
everything.
That's my real question on that, right? Is because a lot of people that get into it at the beginning, and a lot of people are newbies, and like, hey, right? The question always is, how do I become you now, right?
Yeah.
Like, and how do I become CityLife or whatever?
Yep.
Right. Early on at that point in time, obviously you were facing a barrel down your throat, right? At the end of the day, from a terminology standpoint of like, I have no idea. And I know for a long period of time, probably like month 9 moving forward, you knew you weren't going to be able to do it successfully because that interest was piling up.
For sure.
Like, how did you mentally get through that, knowing like I'm screwed, but I'm like, it sounds like you stayed true to your investors, but like that mindset, especially early on when you don't have 8-9 years of going through this as an entrepreneur to really build a strong mindset, right? Like we had, Matthew Simmons here a couple weeks ago, and like he's the biggest mindset guy in the world, and
Dude,
like
he's a savage.
and
Yeah,
right. And we all
yeah.
grow that mindset, but like so early on, how the hell did you get through that mentally? Like that's tough.
To be very honest with you, and we'll talk about this later, but like today I take a lot of time and effort on my mindset and figuring out who I am and how I operate and understand it. As I spoke to you guys earlier on, like I was breathing, I was doing, at that point, I'm not even sure. I'm going to say that like I've always been uh a little bit cocky or a little bit arrogant.
Hmm.
My good friends will call me cocky. Most people, I'm not as intense to the outside. I don't come
Yeah.
across that way, but my good friends will say I'm a little cocky, but it's really just confidence.
Yeah.
And so I think that is one piece that I grew up with. And it was always important for me to maintain my confidence. And I'll give you one quick example is that I was a little bit of a player in college. Okay. And
Let's
so-
go, baby.
Okay.
Can we change the rest of the podcast to talking about
Tearing up
that?
Edinburgh.
Yeah. So all my friends thought I would get like,
Shout out Edinburgh babes.
a lot of girls, right? And what it was this. I was confident to approach them. I would get shut down 9 out of 10 times, right?
not care.
Right?
Yeah.
And after they shut me down, I'd be like, guarantee they had a boyfriend. Or like I would make up.
Something wrong with them.
Okay, and it was
She must only have one tit.
so I wasn't even
Probably sucks
I
in
wasn't
bed.
even like conscious what I was doing, but I was like, I'm gonna keep my spirits high. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I think as
Yeah.
I'm thinking about this now, because I did not put effort into my mindset then.
Yeah.
I think it was just the confidence I had. And I was like, this sucks. I'm gonna figure this out. I like real estate now. I can
Did
make
you
money.
have the conversations with them throughout it? Or was it more
The
of like,
investors?
yeah.
Yeah, we spoke. I mean, it started getting like, hasn't sold yet, huh? Like it was a conversation. We kept talking. It's like I'm gonna lose money, and that's when the first hard money lender was like, we can talk about a short sale. I didn't even know what a short sale was,
Yeah.
and I was like, no,
I'm still not sure I know what a short sale is,
they're
so don't worry
confusing.
about it. Yeah.
But so I guess to answer your question is just I think that I just had confidence,
Yeah.
and so that was luckily what kept me going. But I was like, it was just like I'll make more money. I'm gonna figure this out.
Yeah. That's
Right.
awesome. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So obviously we hustled enough to pay back investor 2 on the next house. So
Yep.
we've got kind of, I guess, call it 2 flips, even though you didn't really flip, the second
I
one,
realized
right?
I bought that for 4,
Yeah,
sold for 12.
That's technically a flip
right,
if you
yeah.
owned it, right? Like, so
Yeah.
so where we go next?
Okay. All right. So where are we? So I'm a real estate agent now. Okay. And I'm
Which brokerage did you start at?
Keller Williams.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Is that where you started?
Yeah, started
Really?
KW. Bethel.
That's where I was.
Get out, Cindy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Schmidt.
where I was.
Shout out Cindy.
Cindy
Yeah.
Schmidt. Cindy's awesome.
Mhm.
No, it was a great place.
So
to start.
basically, Cindy's probably half responsible for half of the Pittsburgh success at this point. Then,
I think a lot of good people started there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
had good training. She was a great broker.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Nice.
liked her a lot.
I'm gonna have to give her a call to find the next top talent coming out of there.
Okay, so working as an agent, and so I knew I wanted to get back into investing, but I was like, there's a lot I need to learn,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Little-
I
little
at
more
least
scary this
recognized
time,
that,
yeah.
right? I was like, I can't take another 43,000 hit, right? So I just started working and hustling as an agent, okay? And so I'm pushing and just grinding it. I love it. I was fortunate to find something so cheesy, but I was like, I love being an agent. I love real estate.
I mean,
So
I think too the mindset, right? If you're confident naturally, like going in to become a real estate agent, if you're confident, it's like hustle. If you hustle, you can do good, right? Like and put some time into it. And so if you're confident,
For
boom,
sure, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. And that's what it was, I think, and so pushing, hustling, grinding as an agent, starting to make a little bit of money, still keep my expenses super low. The vehicles I'm driving for a while, I called it the Golden Nugget, bought it for $1,000, piece of shit, ended up flipping that. It was so dirty when I bought it, cleaned it real well, drove it for 6 months, flipped it, but,
Yeah.
but
So we're starting to get the entrepreneur coming out.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, man, I don't want to jump back too far. I will tell you 2 seconds. When I was in high school, my parents were divorced. I lived with my dad and single dad, and he would buy a ton of family size Pop-Tarts. Okay. And this was just found out a few years ago. Okay.
My man was slinging Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
So I'm start taking these family size Pop-Tarts to school because he's buying boxes and boxes of them. So I'm selling them at a locker. I go to my grandma's house. She cuts out coupons for pop. I go buy a case of pop. I'm just selling shit out of my
Yeah,
locker,
thrifty.
Love that.
And so years later, just literally just a few years ago, I was talking to my dad and he's like, that got brought up. He's like, I thought kids loved those Pop-Tarts. I wondered how you were going through them so fast. I was like, Dad, you kept buying them, so I sold them at school. So it was funny to find that out.
I'll counter you real quick with a similar story of in high school, my senior year. Long story short, I would get out at 12:22. I played football, so I had football practice at 2:30 or something like that. Leading up to senior year, I continued to convince my parents. So I worked a little bit smarter, not as hard as you with the sales, up to getting $7 a day for lunch. So I got $35 a week for lunch, but I got done school at 12:22. Every single day for the entire year, I would drive home after school at 12:22, eat lunch at home, pocket all $7. So I pocketed $35 a week for the entire school year and would drive back to football practice.
Dude,
my parents had to have known, right?
Yeah.
But like, so I wasn't entrepreneurial slanging, but I was working smarter, not harder, and like
100%.
pocketing $35 a week.
Well, you guys are crushing it in leaps of bounds ahead of where I am, and that's because of like smarter, not harder. You know what I mean? I'm just like,
I don't know that we're leaps and bounds ahead of you, which we're going to get into, but so anyways, I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, well, I did as well there. I jumped back to selling Pop-Tarts. Where was I?
Should we just talk the rest of the time about our high school days? No, I'm just kidding.
Hold on. This year is my 20-year anniversary.
Wow.
20, dude, that's insane.
Wow.
You're
a couple older than me. I graduated in 06 then, so I got 3 years for 20.
Same, right?
We're the same age then, you and I. I'm 06.
Wait, did I graduate in 08? Now I'm questioning.
How old are you?
I'm 35.
Same. So 06
Yeah, I'm
sounds right. From high school.
Bad at math.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
2010 was college. 08 or 06 was high school.
Oh,
for
I
me.
drug that forever. I don't know when I graduated college. It was like 8 years.
Yeah, that does.
Semesters and stuff.
Oh yeah, living the life you were living. It sounds
That's
like I would
right,
drag
yeah.
that shit out too.
That's right. Where was I? Okay,
Still
so
goes there. Still enrolled in
Yeah,
Edinburgh.
exactly. Okay, man, I am getting way sidetracked. And you guys,
No, we're
tell
good.
me-
This is good, man. This is great.
well,
Keep
then,
going.
Then here's first time ever said live. Okay. Right?
Uh-oh.
There
Yep.
we go.
I said at the beginning of this, I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. When I finished all of my courses, all my classes, all my credits, right? I finished, and then there was $100 fee or something to get your diploma and like go through the process and like have that. I
Never
didn't
did
pay
it.
that because I knew I wasn't going to be in criminal justice, right? And so I don't have a degree. I have all the credits to have a degree. I don't have the paper. And I called like maybe 4 years ago, and I was like, "Hey, I just want to see if I can get my degree." Like, oh, so and so expired or whatever it was. It's like, so I'm not eligible and I don't have a bachelor's degree,
Right.
but I don't care at all.
I would say I don't think you need it at this point,
for
right?
sure.
Like, you're
for
doing
sure. I
okay.
just, a lie I
You've
tell
done
all the
something
time.
right that college degree doesn't necessarily
That's
matter
right.
anymore.
That's right.
Yeah, you know
Yeah.
you completed it.
100%.
That's still pretty
yeah.
effed up. Though.
Yeah.
How does that expire? Should never expire.
I probably didn't look hard enough, but she was just like, "You need to take this to be eligible." And I was like, "Nope, I'm good."
Yeah.
I was literally, I wanted you to send it to me. I'd be done. But
Yeah.
jumping back in, I'm a real estate agent. I'm hustling as an agent, right?
Yep.
I'm selling as a realtor. I knew I wanted to get back into investing. I waited 3 years before I started investing again.
Wow,
So
okay.
I've only been investing about like 5 years now, maybe 6. Right around probably when right around when we started, because we started working with Fund That Flip kind of together.
Yeah, I remember chatting with you.
Yeah,
about it,
yeah,
I think
but-
Ezra as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So selling as an agent, I connected with the individual. His name was Chris that I was working with. He was flipping homes, and we started talking. And he was like, "Hey, I want to start a real estate brokerage, and primarily just to keep his commissions in house on flips."
Yeah,
right?
yeah, similar. Yep.
Right. And so I'm like, "Yeah, cool. I'd love to be a part of that." So what's funny is that I've only been an agent for 8 months, and he's like, "I'll pay you as a manager." Right. And I'm like, "Yeah, all right."
Mhm.
So for a month, I don't know what it was, I was getting paid as manager. I'm like, "Dude, I don't want-"
Okay, so you left KW relatively quick.
Yeah, I was only there for probably 8 months. Yeah. Somewhere
Yeah.
around there. And I jumped to a company called Go Realty, which I don't think is any longer anymore, for just a couple months. It was this filler gap until we got Lifespace up and rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Lifespace came about, I initially wasn't going to have ownership, even though I was part of building that and getting things rolling. Because and I went to him, I was like, "Dude, I want ownership. I want to be a partner. I don't want paid." Right.
Yeah.
And so that's how that started. I'm skipping a lot of information, a lot of time. We can.
And
touch
you
on
were
it later.
you were so 8 months into your real estate career though, you were still actively hustling, right? So whenever you went to
100%.
go and you went to Lifespace, you were still making your own commissions at that point in time.
just commission based.
Yeah,
that's
that's what
it.
you were living off
Yep,
of.
100%.
Cool.
Yeah. And And so like I said, I'm skipping a big chunk of time, and we can get to there later on in the story. But I fast forward, I eventually ended up buying him out.
At what point in time did you start investing again?
Cool. Yep. So it's been probably 5 or 6 years since I've been investing again. And so I was living over at West Homestead at the time.
So you grew Lifespace. You were growing Lifespace really at a good clip from a brokerage perspective before you started doing investment again.
That's true. Yes and no.
Okay.
The truth is that Lifespace was stagnant and just chilling, like just like not there wasn't like heavy effort to put systems in place and create a company and like grow it
It
into
was more
something.
just a way to get deals.
Checking a box of
Yeah.
keeping commissions. Like
Cool.
honestly.
Yep.
And it was years later. So like I biased, but I like the branding, I like the vibe, and like I think we've got a pretty good reputation, you know.
Yeah, you
But
do.
like it was not known for a long time and just like chilling, right?
Yep.
And now we're definitely gaining some traction. There's some cool stuff happening with it. But it's been around for a while, but like, not a huge number of agents because I never pushed, right? And I never put systems in place. I didn't have a foundation of support of that. And we're working through that now and like some exciting things in the works as well, which we'll get into. But jumping back to the
Yeah.
investing piece was so investing for about 6 years. I'll say very first thing I did back into investing about 6 years ago was flipped a house over in Munhall. Bought it for
You're
five.
the Munhole guy, so here
That's
we
right.
go.
That's
Let's get
right.
into
We're
it.
into it. We're into all my eggs in one basket, you know?
Yeah.
So we bought a house for five, put $5,000, put 60 grand into it, sold it for 115.
Beautiful.
So at that time, this was like lower Munhall, if you're familiar with the area over there, right? And there's sections of Munhall that are already pretty nice or very nice, right? And so there's Munhall, Homestead, West Homestead, kind of all on that hillside there. And I gotta tell you, it was the talk of the town, right? No one's renovating homes over there. No one's flipping homes over there.
Yeah, you're buying it for $5,000, right? Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it got a lot of attention. And then so I was like, okay, I feel like there's less. I didn't want to lose money again. Right. I did not
Mhm.
want to, which happens later on, but I didn't want to lose money again.
Of course, it always and it will happen again.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I can handle a little bit better,
Yeah.
I'm in a better position. But so what I'm doing over there, which I may have talked to you guys about before, or you've seen it or whatever, is like basically I'm and there's a lot of people over there now for sure. But I came up with this plan that I want to create my own comparables.
Yeah.
Right. I want to dictate, or I don't want to use the word manipulate the market, right?
Yeah.
Make a positive impact in the market.
Do me a favor here because I do want to get into this. Can you explain exactly what that means? It's one of the things I wanted to make sure that we taught our listeners, right? When you are resetting your comps,
Yep.
right? You are known for that and to sophisticated quote unquote real estate investors like us. And I
Yep.
think it's amazing. And quite frankly, we rode your back a little bit, just like a lot of people have. So
For sure.
can you
And I
explain
do as well.
exactly what you mean by that?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm not, it sounds, and I get a lot of reactions of many people and be like, that's genius, right? It's a very simple concept. And when you break it down, it's like, oh, that makes sense, So what it is that the value of a home is determined by what other homes sell for, a comparable, right?
Mhm.
And if the value of the home is determined by what's another home sells for, why don't you work on pushing and make an impact on creating a comparable, selling a home for as much as you can, right? So if I own a bunch of properties and they're all 3 bed, 1 bath, and they're nice and they're renovated, and I can sell a house for 200,000, I'm all in 100 for these. Then all of a sudden, the day that house is closed, I have 100,000 equity in every home. It's like, that sounds amazing to me.
Yeah.
So the idea, so that's there. And so what I do is I have certain products, certain flips I do are called my comp setters. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm focusing all of my efforts from an investment standpoint. Currently, I have some things, or let's say 98% of my investments, a couple things here and there, but in Homestead, Munhall, West Homestead. And so what we do is, very generally speaking, is we'll buy 5 homes. Let's say we buy 5 homes. It's a transitioning area, okay? And there's streets that are better than other streets,
Mhm.
streets that are rough, sections that are a little rough. So I'll buy all 5 homes, okay? I'll renovate all 5 homes pretty much just as nice. New electric, new plumbing, new HVAC, quartz countertops, right? House number 5 will be on a street that's a nicer street,
Mhm.
a little bit easier to sell,
Mhm.
okay? And in addition, I'll put a little more money into these homes that create like an easier product to sell, like trendy items, right? Makes it more sellable but not necessarily more valuable.
Mhm.
Okay, from an appraisal standpoint.
Mhm.
So adding minor things, accent walls, a dog spigot for your dog, like adding custom staircase or different railings or unique features of the home. We did little emojis outside of bedrooms that were backlit. So like a bedroom, a bathroom, random little things that does not increase the value of a home from an appraisal standpoint,
Mhm.
right? But it does increase the sellability and that desire from buyers to want it,
Yep.
right? So once house number 5 sells and creates a comp, I go to the bank and I say, "Hey, bank, I'd like to refinance these four, which are now rented." Right. And they say, "Oh, 123 Main Street just sold for 150,000." I'm like, "Perfect.
Yeah.
I got a comp." So over the years over there, now this is twisted because they're not all 3-bed, 1.5 bath, right? There's a 4-bed, 2 bath, there's a 3-bed, 1 half. However, this shows the progression from my comp setters based on the sales price, right? 5 years ago or 6 years ago, the first flipped home was 115,000. Game changer. People couldn't believe it. Okay. 115, 150, 190, 212, 270. And I just set a record for a house over there by $40,000. No house has ever sold over 400,000. I sold it for 425. Homestead, Munhall West Homestead ever. The highest sold home was like 385.
I was going to say, I can't believe something over. Yeah, 400.
Yeah.
Nuts.
So,
Plus, you're probably doing pretty damn well on the flip itself as well.
well, let me say this. I've had a couple of those flips, crushed it. I've had a few of those flips, 12 months on the flip, make 10 grand. Might as well have lost money. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but the idea is all my other properties,
Yeah.
I just built my net worth by $200,000, $300,000.
And
right?
really, depending on the timing, right, you go get the refis.
For sure.
So to summarize, right,
package,
like,
yeah.
you call your 5 properties, you sell this one, right, you might make 10K, but ultimately what you're doing is you're doubling the value of your other 4. You go to refi, you get 80%, you might make an extra 200K than what you would have made previously.
Yep.
So you really made $210,000 on your 5 properties and not 10 and 200, right? And then you kind of combine them all because it was one big deal for you at the end of the day,
100%.
right?
100%.
Yeah.
That's very similar to what new construction does that a
Oh,
lot.
yeah.
Because if you just build one, there's no profit there in one. You're pretty much losing on the first deal.
Yeah.
Or that might pay for some of the upfront expenses from the inspections, the groundwork, everything needed. That's why they have to package them into multiple.
Yeah.
They actually hit. So if you sell 5 of them, now it makes up for all the other expenses.
For sure. Yep.
So that one, even if you lose money on the flip, even if you lose 10K,
That's what I tell people.
yeah, you're setting the comps on everything else to make another 20, 30K
100%.
like on the other one. So
100%.
And I
Makes
think
a lot of
I think
sense.
too, right? Like a lot of people, like, in real estate that have experience naturally try to do this a little bit. Like we certainly have in some other areas where we would do a flip where it made sense and then help with the comps and et cetera.
sure.
But like we're nobody, like you're known for that in Pittsburgh, right? Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, and you know that, we know
Yeah.
you for that. And like to my point, right, we have several over in your area and like we've used your comps and we handed your
Yeah.
comps to the appraiser. Like, hey, we got a 3 1.5. Here's a 3 1.5 flip. It went for this. They're extremely similar. We get the appraisals, right?
Yep.
What gave you that idea to think about it like, hey, I can invest in this community and reset my comp by actually doing a flip here?
So I don't think it was like me sitting down and just like thinking it through and coming up with that idea. I think it was like a natural progression of like certain things that I wanted or I was aware of. Like I knew I didn't want to, I wanted to avoid at all costs to lose money again. And so I thought 2 things. One thing I didn't have with my first flip was I only had one exit strategy. That was flip the home. I didn't know about renting. I didn't know about refinance. Very limited knowledge. Everything I go into now, there's a desired outcome and then there's a backup plan, right? And so so I thought that I knew I wanted to get rentals. I've always had a plan on building a rental portfolio. It's always been a plan. I'm all over the place with a lot of shit. That's something I've been committed to, at least,
Yeah.
And so the idea was, I believe in this area. First of all, so like I was living there, so I started paying attention to real estate, and I'm like,
Yep.
this area has potential, right?
Yeah.
There is why hasn't it turned? It has the waterfront. It's for me convenient location to a lot of different things, right?
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, this area has potential. Boom, one thing that clicked. Now I'm paying attention to this area. Next thing, it's like, okay, I want to invest in real estate. And when you're inexperienced, you look at numbers like you can buy a house or a duplex for 60 grand and it brings in $1,200 a month. Like, so initially the numbers looked killer from a rental standpoint,
Yeah.
right? And so there was just a few different things that kind of led me to that area. and why I wanted to start investing there. And then when I realized when I wanted to flip a home, understanding like, okay, in order to be able to resell this, I will need an appraisal, which I'll talk about how I've got over different appraisals challenges,
Yeah.
But so there was just like a collective 3, 4, 5 different things that kind of like brought that idea together and just led me to, okay, I need to be the one that creates my own comps, because I don't think other people are going to come in here and willing to put a lot of money into these homes and take that risk and take that gamble. And there's going to be slumlords or people that renovated a home that's
Yeah.
not renovated and sells for 80,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's just a collective, a handful of different things that kind of like pushed me to that.
I love
idea.
it. Give us the appraisal tips that you got, bro. What are you gonna get into there?
I shouldn't. I mean, a little bit. I've had challenges. I can tell you, as you know, if I want to sell a house for more than any other house is sold over there, right? How do you get by that? So I know it's a challenge going into it, and I'm doing.
And when you refer to that, I guess let me clear the air here really quick, right? You're basically saying, hey, look, you just told me you set the record for a sold over 400 grand there, but when you think about the standpoint of just because, and I don't love this in residential real estate, but it is a fact of reality. Just because someone's willing to pay for that, the appraiser needs to come in and basically verify independently that that it is an arm's length transaction, right? Is really what they're doing, and not a friend trying to buy for that for different reasons. So in the residential real estate space, when you're selling it to a new homeowner, there's a lot of laws that protect new home buyers. And so your point ultimately saying, like, if I want to sell for 400 grand and there's nothing else that says it should sell for 400 grand, it might not appraise for 400 grand, even though someone is telling you they're willing to buy it for 400 grand, right?
That doesn't make sense. To me, man.
So that, to clarify, right, that's ultimately the issue that you're running into when you're trying to quote unquote reset the comps of, there's no comps. So how does it appraise when a new homeowner is going to come in and buy that property?
For sure. So I won't talk specifically about that property just yet, but I am going to talk to you about one way in which I got over an issue with an appraisal. Okay. Is that, and I called and I asked and made sure that it was all legit before I did it. As an agent myself, we have access to the MLS, right? And many, if not all, appraisals pull comps from the MLS, other areas as well at times, right? But it will also, there's a section on the MLS that you plug in, like, what type of financing was this? Conventional, cash, whatever it is, right? There's a section on there, maybe you're aware, that you can put owner carry. Okay. And if there's a sold comp, it does not matter if it's cash, conventional, owner carry, whatever it is, right? And so I had a property that I was selling, didn't get the appraisal, went back to the buyer. I was like, I'll carry financing for you. So they're like, cool, sounds good, for X amount of years, for X amount of time. And so I got to close that home. I got to create a comp by carrying the financing for a short amount of time. And so that was a way that I didn't get over the appraisal there. Yeah. Right. But the buyer was willing to pay that.
Didn't care yet. But the bank so said another way, right? The banks rely on the appraisals in order to fund the money. Yep. And so it didn't appraise, and therefore the bank wasn't willing to lend enough money on the deal.
Was willing to
the buyer still wanted it, just didn't have enough money, didn't have a borrower. And so you said, hey, I will lend the money to you.
Yep. So carried financing on that, close it as a sold comp, boom, created our 190 comp. On to the next.
I love that.
And so
tell us a little bit more about the seller financing that you did there, because again, in today's market, and I'm sure you're aware, like, creative financing is absolutely blowing up because it's a lot harder to burr, right? With the market on a downswing like it is, creative financing is huge. You clearly did it in the past yourself in order to create your comps. Super intuitive. I love that.
Yep.
But what did that look like for you?
I will tell you a little more details. I don't want to.
You don't have to. You're good. Sorry, public. You ain't getting this one.
We set up a rent to own. Which on the MLS is owner carry, right? Yeah. And agreed upon some terms. Then you had the ability to buy it from me, or you had the ability to rent it and bail. And they ended up bailing, but I kept the home and I had the comp.
And you got the comp and probably some money from it.
So truthfully, it was a win-win.
Yeah.
But
and a lot of people do structure their deals rent to own, and I won't get into some of the specifics of all of that, but there is some benefits to the investor that they do that for a reason of which they think ultimately your tenant's not going to close on the buy.
For sure. Yeah.
And thus you get a bunch more money up front. We don't do that ourselves.
Yeah.
We've looked into it before, but anyway.
Yeah. So I think that explains everything from like a comp standpoint. You
Yeah.
know, I call them comp setters.
So where are you at? Where are you at? Like, what's going on now? Like, what do you got going on? Obviously, you've built a portfolio. You're in the news everywhere.
Just recently.
You know, you've got a ton going on. You got the brokerage, and you got some shit I probably don't even know about going on. Like, so what do you look like today, bro?
Cool. All right. Let me bring a handful of stuff together. As I've been doing all those flips and creating my comps from rehabs, I've been acquiring land over there. Probably have 22, 23, 24 lots. And two of those lots are, one is an entire block. So I got it subdivided into 8 lots. Another one is 7 lots side by side.
You are no longer an investor. You are now going to be a developer.
Yeah, we'll see, man. It's a struggle.
Super cool.
So
I like it.
where these are located is on, let's say, the area that's still transitioning. Okay.
Not yet quite ready to be built on.
Yeah, and I've been sitting on them for a while.
Yeah.
You know, bittersweet. We'll see if it pans out. It's been a long run, right? So one of the problems is being able to sell the home for what I need to sell it for to someone, and the appraisal, right? So I acquired a lot in a nicer section of Munhall that I'm confident in resale.
Don't worry about it. You can say what you want. We'll make sure no Munhall, born and raised Munhall folks are listening. You've been there for a long time. Yeah, you can.
I live there.
Yeah.
I currently live there. Yeah, and I lived in
so you
both sections, right?
Yeah.
For years. So I'm currently building a modular construction or new construction right now. My very first one. We're hopefully 3 months away from getting that fully finished up.
Nice.
There's a small chance I'm throwing a wrench in things and I might move into it. But the plan all along has been to build this house, create my first new construction comp in the nice part of Munhall. So I have an exit strategy on if I build one and I can't sell it, right? At least I can get a big chunk of my money back out, on the developments.
It de-risks a little bit, right?
Exactly.
Because it's in the nicer
So
part
that
of
is in
town.
the works. If all comes together, it's a perfect world. I'll finish that. I end up selling it. We create a comp for 400, 450, whatever the numbers are, new construction. I'll jump into my 2 developments. I brought 2 different partners on. As I'm trying to grow, I'm connecting with different people. I'm like, let's do this together. Here's the land. Here's the money. Here's the plan.
Yeah.
Right. And so two of these sections. So I got to tell you, one's in Lower Munhall, which we'll be calling the Taj Munhall development. Okay. And the other one is on West 9th, very close to 8th and Hayes. Really nice wine and pizza bar there, just a block up. And that will be called To the Nines development. Okay.
Love it.
So in a perfect world.
How much time did you waste coming up with the names?
Actually, I can't take credit for the Taj Mahal. Actually, I might not have even named either of those.
Yeah.
So
Who, not how?
Yeah.
Who named them? Right. Yeah.
So that's happening. That's potentially in the works. We'll see how things shake out. We're taking steps towards it until we get to a point where someone says no or it doesn't make sense. Right. That's kind of how I operate. So there's that piece, the new construction piece. The schools, which is a whole nother world I can tell you about.
Yeah, man. Look, you've been all over the news. Super cool stuff. Love watching it. So like, give us the spiel on the school, right? Because I know it took you quite a bit of time at the end of the day, right? You've done it in a couple of years, but
Sure.
And obviously it's blowing up now. You finally kind of finished, right? But like, I really didn't even know a lot of that was going on, and clearly you've been doing a ton of other things and creating an entirely new market over in Munhall, like in the meantime. So give us a little bit more on that school, man, because I know it's super important to you. It's awesome stuff.
Huge piece of who I am and my story right now, right?
Yeah.
And I'm only the minority owner now, but I'll talk through that. So very plugged into that market over there. I genuinely care about that area because I live there as well. So I'm not just financially invested in there. I'm invested emotionally, personally. I'm part of community groups. Like I'm trying to make an impact.
Which, by the way, I absolutely love, right? The most important thing about what we're doing, if you're mentally in this for the right reasons, is, taking care of the community that you're living in, being a part of that. And our mission statement, it is one of our 3 senses, is strengthen the community. So I love that you're doing that, bro. Great stuff.
Man. That definitely aligns with me. It's important.
Yeah.
So pretty plugged in over there. And so I had an individual bring me this school. It was called Bishop Boyle. And he said, hey, I got this property. It's a really good deal. The seller has to get rid of it. This seller was in a very, very tough spot. he was going to be losing everything. Let's say that. It was a very tough spot. He needed to get rid of the property. I put it under contract, started doing my due diligence. Right or wrong, I knew he was in a tough spot. So I had a large amount of leverage, right?
Mm-hmm.
We did some inspections. We found a bunch of asbestos, which I knew or assumed would be in there. It was quoted $75,000 to remediate the asbestos. And so I went back to him and I was like, this is scary. I need this done. Meanwhile, we're under contract for months. It has to sell soon. It has to close soon, or I can't get it. He can't get it. Right.
Yeah.
So I got the school at $100,000 and closed on that in 2019. So after I closed, the very first thing we did was we went and bought go-karts and we went and bought mini bikes and we took it to school and we ripped around the school.
Nice.
So fun, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
I think I've seen it. You got a video circulating?
100%. Yeah. It's like when
see
you own a school,
we'll see if we can find
you know
it.
what I mean? Like, and you're still young.
So we are very much in the preliminary stages, so I can't say where, what, who, when, why, how.
Okay.
However, we are in the preliminary stages of also acquiring a school. So we will be giving you a call to come bring your go-karts and your bikes to rip around our school when we get it.
Hopefully it's not another one I'm looking at right now.
No, it's not. No, it's actually way more progressed, right? It's not necessarily as an old school as sitting there anymore. So we don't. I mean, you're about to get into a little bit probably. It's not nearly as big, and like we're not as much as on the development side, and probably the work that went into what you're doing. Like, I don't know that we're prepared to do all of that yet.
I lack the knowledge. I'll get to there still. I mean, I have more experience and a better understanding, right? But
very curious to see how much this school cost budget wise.
Okay, so where we're at is I purchased the school for $100,000. I got connected with an individual that had experience converting schools or large buildings to apartments. We started talking back and forth and could not come to an agreement on what I felt the value of the school was, right? And we talk about this. It's very open. Well, my two partners, Dan Spanovich and Adam Colucci.
Hey, boys, he's not throwing you under a bus. It sounds like you talk about this, so we're good.
No, this is the story. This is the truth. And so Dan and I couldn't come to an agreement on what the value of the building was, and he wanted 50% ownership. And he wanted to pay 50% of what I purchased.
Yeah, which was not the value. Clearly, you did all the work to get it for a super discount.
Like, I found the deal, and this was much more valuable. Blah, blah. So we just didn't come to an agreement initially. Probably lack of. There was more value he brought than I realized, and I probably got caught up on that a little bit. But anyway, so we couldn't come to an agreement. A few months later, a good friend of mine, Jason Checo, owns Lending Heights. I don't know if you guys know Lending Heights. He connected me to his buddy who lives in New Jersey, who wanted to start getting into investing in the Pittsburgh area. He has family here. And so he came down and I met up with him and I was like, you should see my school I just purchased. And he went and checked it out. He's like, dude, this is amazing. I want in. And I was like, okay, I think the value is this. He's like, cool, I'll pay half. So we agreed upon like a 440 valuation or something for the school. So I bought it for $100,000.
Yep.
I sold 50% ownership for 220, and so I got my $100,000 back and made 120,000. Now I'm 50% owner. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Adam and I mess around with it for, I guess, I don't know if I'm going to say years with an S, but at least a year or more, right? Like, what are we going to do? Should we try to make it a maker space and just rent out the different places? Should we turn it into an office building? I had people suggest like.
I'm assuming there's not like hard money or nothing sitting on it at this point, right? Because otherwise.
That's right. Yeah. The holding
you
costs
knew it was
were
a
nothing.
long-term type of. Yeah.
Yeah. The holding costs were not very, very minimal.
Yeah.
We're fine.
And what the hell do you care? You got your money out of it.
No, I made 120,000. You know what I mean? I'm still 50% owner.
Yeah, I was going to say, you already got a decent school.
I was in a great spot. So I already felt like, whatever you guys want, So a lot of times past, we brainstorm a bunch of different
ideas. By the way, that's a ridiculous deal in and of itself.
I know. I know. Dude, it's one of my best deals for sure.
Yeah, like $120,000 on a quick flip of half of it and keeping 50% equity. Like,
I know.
I mean, we just talked about your $400,000 record deal. You probably made something like that, but like that's your record deal in a new sale. Like your first one you sold for $115K. Well, you weren't in it for zero. You made more money on the school
for sure
by turning 50% of it like that. So
I know.
Super
that
cool
opened
alone.
up my eyes too. It's like I just got to find good deals.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just negotiating with the seller.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, most people say we make our money on the buy, right? Like
100%, man. 100%. Okay. So we bring in, we turn our wheels for a long time. Can't figure something out. We reconnect with Dan, right? The first guy. Yeah, they couldn't come to agreement with it. Started talking again. We're like, we need Dan's help. Dan gets involved, jumps in. I think he didn't. I don't think he paid the 440 evaluation. I honestly can't remember. I think it was a little more than what him and I were initially talking about. But where he brought the value, a huge amount of value, not just from a financial standpoint, was he's like, I'll GC this for free. I'll project manage this for free. I'm like, done.
Yeah.
Okay, and had experience before, right? And so we bring him in, and we get rolling. And I'll be honest with you, Dan absolutely crushed it.
Awesome.
Is crushing it, right? You know, and you'll come across, and there's times where it's over budget, or there's times where it's like we did this and we got to do that. Like that's construction. That's the real estate world, right? And so I'm very understanding, you know, and
especially when you're converting a school to apartments, like there's
For
going to be
sure.
some things that you don't know.
for sure, absolutely. And so, so I guess I'm skipping a ton of information there, but yeah, we Dan handled the whole project. I was a part of the design. I was a part of miscellaneous connecting a handful of different contractors. I have a lot of relationships over there. There's a few things I did with my relationships that helped out, you know, and brought that value. But at this point, Dan took 50% ownership, like it was a requirement of his, and we agreed upon. So Adam and I were just 25. I won't go into the details of this. He really wanted 30%. Okay. And so we went back and forth and came to an agreement that I think is the best deal in the world. And I won't go into it, but came to an agreement that, you know, I'll take 20%, he'll take 30 with X amount of results.
Yeah.
So we did that. So I'm just the minority owner of both our schools now. We have one across the street, which I'll talk about in a second. But so we converted it to 31 units. We leased up in probably like 6 months. We're fully leased. You know, generating 40 grand a month in gross income over there. Really solid building. It's been an amazing property.
What was the total cost of the reno?
I
you
don't
don't have to say if you don't want to.
No, I will. I honestly don't know for a fact, but it was in the ballpark of right around 3 million. Right around 2.
What did you originally, you guys, when you kind of first started, expect it to be?
Dude,
I
mean to say we were only. I want to say we were thinking it was going to be around like 2.6 or 2.7, right? And we were all in closer to 3. So it was only like,
assuming you financed some of that too,
it wasn't
right?
too bad. The second one's more money than we anticipated.
Yeah.
Different market, different time.
Are you going to be able to get out of it?
We're good.
Yeah.
It's still a killer investment. I mean, dude, you know, our value on it, our appraisal was like a little shy of 5 million.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
you're right around quote unquote break even on what you have into it, less time.
Yeah. Yep. And so,
actually, no, you probably made money.
I was gonna say you probably made a couple bucks
If you refiled at 80%. Again, I don't know what you're doing in financing. We don't have to get into that, right? And kind of waste time there. But technically, 3 million on a reno, call it $500,000 plus holding costs and shit. Like you're probably all in close to 4 million. That's right around.
Our all in was around 3 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's worth all 5 now.
We're in a really good spot on that school.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And that just game changer.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, now you got a 31 unit, beautiful, brand new friggin' school in an area that you love more than anything. That's just going to.
For sure.
That's amazing, brother. Congratulations.
Thank you, man.
Super cool.
Experience
for sure. So we
it's insane.
We bought so then I wasn't gonna do this because I'm doing better. I'm doing well now, right? But I'm not loaded. I don't got a ton of money, right? And they're in a better financial situation than me, I would say, right? But this is hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars, right? And they're like, we need the school across the street, and I'm like, I don't think I can afford it. I don't know if we're gonna and they basically convinced me, which I'm happy they did, and I'm involved, and they're helping out in different ways, and so we're doing that one now, and that one will be 33 units, has a 2-story parking garage. We acquired the parking lot next to it. We went through conservatorship. We're getting the lot next to it. We're taking over that little area there. That's probably 60-70% done. And then I'm skipping a lot of information here. And then about 6 weeks ago, I personally acquired another school over there.
Wow.
So just locked down another school.
Where the hell are the kids going to go?
I don't know. They're running out of schools. I don't know why there's so many, because I've spoke with an individual on the school board, like, we plan on building another new school in X amount of years. I was like, well, let me know when that one's available.
Yeah.
You know, like,
When you
I'm
closing it
playing
down.
3-4
Yeah.
years from now. I hope I can lock that one down.
You should take a look at, you know, I don't even know if I could say this on air, but I know they've been bouncing around turning St. Mary to Mount Washington into apartments for friggin' years and years and years.
Really?
They're struggling with it, so clearly they need to bring in the experts, bring in you
Yeah.
and your team and the team of guys that are converting all these over in Monhall. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
super cool, man.
That's like a
Um,
niche. That could be a niche market in
It i-
itself. Schools across Pittsburgh. Just
It
think
is.
about how many there are.
It is. So because okay, so I can talk about like why all of a sudden we got this crazy amount of attention from media and stuff for it.
Yeah.
Is that I'm
Yeah,
really
you could talk about all the attention you're getting on a podcast. Sure, bud.
Yeah, can I tell you about
It's an
that?
attention.
It's really cool. I want to tell you like what's
Yeah.
happening. It's everyone-
Yeah.
it's so cool. I'm bad at social media. I'll post for a while and then I don't post for months. And I'll put like I don't love the act of social media. I know you should. I know it's game changer.
It's
We
tough
all
when you're
agree.
building a business. Like you got work to do, and you
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
life outside of work. And
With that being said, I started posting on TikTok. Okay, I was like, I'm gonna jump into this platform a year ago, whatever it was. Started posting on TikTok. Posted for a while, then I started posting again. A couple videos blew up. They went viral. So I got a decent following. I probably have close to 50,000 followers now from just a few videos, right? And so one of those videos that went viral, that's where we got a ton of attention. And one of those contacts was CNBC Make It. And so they reached out to us, and then we got together. We did an interview. We did a story. And so we posted, or they did an article on us, and they posted it just like a couple weeks ago on their Instagram and then put it on their website. And then it just took off. It blew up. We had this one day, we had the New York Post calling us, the Daily Mail, Inquiry, I don't know, a handful
yeah,
of
all
different,
of them. Yeah.
just everyone, right? And we couldn't get back to them quick enough. And then they took all that information, regurgitated it, and created their own article, right? So there was multiple articles. And then CBS Insider Edition reached out to us. They want to come out and film the school here in a couple weeks. CNBC, their video portion, wants to film it as well. We have an interview on Friday to talk about that. So, and there's TV production companies and a ton of different media outlets that connect with us. So it's been really cool. It's been really fun.
You're gonna have to make sure you like toss into those guys. Hey, by the way, we're 70% done across the street here. We need you to
Yeah.
come back in about 6 months because I really need the attention.
They're on the hook. They said yes. We already
Yeah.
told them. Or I already asked, I should say. I didn't
Yeah.
tell them, but
That's cool.
yeah. So they're interested for sure. So yeah. So that's been fun. That's been exciting.
You give me literally like I'm sitting here in my head like shiny object syndrome. Like
I
shit,
know.
what can I go do that's really cool?
whole
Here I
time,
am
I'm
just
sitting
buying
there
some
like, dude.
shithole again. Like I got whatever. Like god damn it.
Yeah,
Cool
That's
shit
cool.
sells. People
Yeah.
like cool shit. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just,
for sure. Yeah,
that's
for
just
sure.
it, man.
So what's next, dude? Right? Like, holy shit, man! You're building a portfolio. You're taking over a town. Clearly, building schools, doing a lot of cool shit. Obviously, you've just got a lot of like spunk. Everyone loves you, right?
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
all that. You got cool designs, right? Like, you know what I mean? You put these cool designs in your flips. Like, super creative. Ton of stuff going on, man.
Yeah.
Like, what's next?
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we're wrapping up here. We're getting closer to where we are today, right?
Yeah.
So few things. Touch base. Getting into that new construction. Hopefully, those development projects can come together. We'll see what shakes out there. Looking at more schools, acquiring more schools. See if it makes sense to keep converting those to
You
apartments.
should change your freaking Instagram handle to the school guy.
I might have to.
Schoolboy.
Yeah, that's cool. Schoolboy hit or miss. I don't know if I know. But so those are in the works. Continuing to rehab, buy rentals, small flips here and there, right? And so I decided I wanted to level up in the single family and small multi-unit space, specifically in that area. And it's like, okay, how can I do that? Because the bittersweet part of me raising the resale price is that the prices on the front end to acquire them are
Go
going
up,
up.
yeah.
Right? So it's like, how
Harder
can
to
I
burn, yeah.
acquire as many as I can before I continue to create comps? Because I plan on doing that, right? So I decided I wanted to put together a real estate fund. So initially I was like, I'm going to tackle this myself. 3 weeks later, I was like, I have no chance. Too much going on. I can't do it. I'm not good at running numbers and miscellaneous thing. I'm a real estate expert. That's where I should focus on. And so I ended up connecting with 2 different guys and brought them on. So it's been a year and a few months that we've been in the works of establishing this real estate fund. It's called Billet Capital Fund. It's in the fund space is small, I guess, all still new to me. So we're going to be looking to raise 10 million.
10.
And then the truth is acquire as much real estate as we can over there. and push real hard. And so the plan is, maybe I'm saying too much, acquire as much as we can, renovate them, make them very nice, place tenants in it, and wait another 2 to 3 years before I create another comp, and then push real heavy to create as high as comps I can, and put us in a position that we've had tenants paying for a few
Refi out
years
of the
and
refi out and
out,
then pay
right?
off the fund.
Yep. And so so the idea is, like, based on how we're going to structure this is the truth, and maybe I'm doing it wrong, I don't know. It's going to be a lot of time and energy and effort, and the GPs of the fund are not currently positioned to make much money, right? And the idea is that I want to do a 50 or $100 million fund, and there's going to be areas of this fund that I'm not familiar with on how they're structured and how they're ran, and there's going to be stuff I'm going to be learning. I do want to get into $100 million fund and buy massive, large apartment complexes and things, but I'm in that space a little bit, but not really, and not yet, right?
Yep.
So I didn't want to do $100 million fund, which learn how the fund operates, the good and the bad about it, and do massive apartment complexes, because I know it, but I don't crush it,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, stick to the single family, stick to the small multi units, do this for 2 years, 3 years, whatever. Understand how funds operate, understand that real well, and then create these hopefully killer returns. And then I have some leverage to be like, here's my experience, I already
You
did
got
it.
all that. Plus, you
Yeah.
have a pool of investors now who
That's
have
right.
friends.
Yep. And I gave them return. It's like, okay, we can raise 100 million. We're doing this now.
Yeah.
Right. So, so I it's a long-term play, right? And but that's the plan from an investment standpoint.
I love that. Let us know when you launch your fund. I'm sure we'll put some money into your fund for sure.
No,
To
absolutely.
be a small part of what you got going on over there. It's
We'll
Love
let
to
you know.
contribute, man.
I'll love it.
Yeah, we find it exciting. And the coolest thing, right, about most of us kind of folks that are figuring out, all of us, a lot of us around the same age, like, you know what I mean? We don't consider ourselves competitors. And I think that's the coolest thing, right? Like, you find a lot of people with similar mindsets, that abundance mindset. It's like, I mean, technically, like, if someone that doesn't understand real estate comes and asks me, who's your competitors, right? I'm like, well, I'm in the rental space game in Pittsburgh, and so are you. So I guess technically you're my competitor,
Yeah,
right? But like,
yeah.
there's such an abundance of real estate here. It's like we can all work together to win. And I think in most industries, people don't realize, like, if you really work together with other people that are technically your competitors, like, you can do so much more, right? You can win at a much bigger level.
Completely agree.
So-
Completely agree. And it's been really fun and enjoyable watching you guys as well, and ton of inspiration and motivation, just because I'm completely team City Life. Let's go, let's push.
Appreciate that.
Openly, and I think it's a healthy healthy portion of, like, we'll say competitiveness,
Yeah.
which I'm on board. It's like, they're pushing, I'm gonna push too.
Yeah,
right?
dude, I'm
like,
pissed off right now. Like, I want to go
exactly.
build a fucking
I got
school.
3 schools.
I'm buying a school
Absolutely.
today.
Exactly. So
Cash.
and that's
What's your
that's
unit count at?
less than you think, I think, because you mentioned a couple hundred. Between me and partners, I don't know. I honestly don't know the exact number. It's over 100, but nothing crazy.
Yeah. Well, you do more flips.
Probably
than we ever have,
120,
too, and-
130, 140.
Yeah.
I'd say max right now. But I shifted a little bit last year. I sold a bunch.
Yeah.
Too. I kind of brought some money in and made some changes. Got prepared for some other stuff.
Well, I mean, especially last year, right? Maybe you did this for this reason or not, but liquidity is extremely important, especially going into this year coming up. Like,
For sure.
I mean, right now, I'm happy to disclose it, right? Everyone at CityLife knows we're selling 32 units in a portfolio package, all 29, homes, a couple duplexes, right? We're selling that. I mean, it's not like it's a fire sale or dumpster sale for us. We're making some good return on that ultimately, but we're just trying to get more liquid,
Yeah.
knowing we've got a big year coming up and we want to scale, right? Sell some units to buy more.
100%.
On top of that, we just signed our last LOI right now in multifamily space in the last 5 days. 149 total units across 6 buildings that we have under contract.
Hell yeah,
So,
that's
right,
amazing.
like
That's
I wanted to
awesome.
say that
That's
to you because
exciting.
now I know you're about to go leave here and go like, shit, I ain't going to bed tonight.
Yeah, exactly. I need to buy 150 units. Yeah, no.
Which is cool, right? It's pushing each
100%,
other. It's not
100%.
like we're mad. It's like,
Healthy
hey,
and
yeah, it's healthy.
Good.
Yeah.
Like,
There's
I
enough
love that.
resources to share, so that's what's great about it.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
completely.
Which we're going to talk offline about a couple of things here, but
Okay.
I want to wrap this thing up here, right? I mean, incredible value added and such a cool and fun story. So I'm sure,
Appreciate that.
a lot of excitement will be to kind of listen into this, and I'm excited already to re-listen. Why don't you give us, right? I kind of like it to end with this, and I think it's extremely important. Give us what you would say to anybody listening, whether newbie, old B, us, whoever it is, right? What's the best advice you would give somebody right now, today, moving forward?
In anything, but obviously mine's in the real estate space. I put heavy time and heavy effort into my mindset and self-awareness. I pay a coach, 700, $800 an hour for sessions of mindset and different life coaching. So specifically, I would say focusing on becoming very, very hyper self-aware, and then so understand yourself, to another level,
Yeah.
and then making adjustments on what you like or don't like, or putting people in place to help you with areas that you don't know. So I would put it all on mindset, not like go find an investor, like
Yeah.
your personal mindset and getting that right and getting that positive and understand who you are.
So you said you mentioned real quick $700-800 you pay an hour for like a mental mindset coach. Like, give us your take really on the idea, because it's always a hot topic, right? It's everywhere, and there's a take of invest in yourself. It's the most important thing to do, and then there's the hater approach of all these people are get rich quick. All they're really doing is making money off of telling you to go get help because then you pay them. What's your take on, right? Literally flat out paying for coaching, right? Whether it's mental, whether it's in real estate, whatever it is. What's your take on that real quick?
Well, since I do it, it's a crucial part of your success,
Yeah.
right? And like there are many, many people, and I knew you guys wouldn't feel that way, that think that's insane. That's insane. And I'm like, I need to invest in myself, and I need someone from a different perspective and has the knowledge to look at me, help me understand where I need to be. And I know that the amount of money that I spent on or spend on coaches, I've I don't know the numbers. I don't know if I've 10x it, but I have got a
Yeah.
huge return from that, and will always be part of my life. The mindset that another individual has helped me establish has been game changer for me.
Yeah.
So
I
hands
couldn't
down.
agree more. I think the total dollars that have gone out of CityLife for some of our key people, including of course myself and Brian, is a little probably in the last 12 months about $200,000 spent on coaching alone. I
Insane.
know for me
Yeah.
personally,
In a
like,
good way.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
look, it's
yeah.
the greatest thing I've ever done.
100%.
Like without a doubt. I mean, my mentor, and some masterminds that I'm in, me alone have stroked, obviously through CityLife for me as our CEO and trying to build a business, $110,000 in the last 6 months. Right. So
I
I
love it. So
Yeah.
you're on board.
I'm
Well,
100%.
sounds like
I
I
am
need to
fully
level
on
up
board.
a
again.
thousand
Fully on
percent
board.
in. Like, I mean, literally just things like this, sitting here listening to you up your game, like you get into those rooms with bigger, more powerful people, like you can't help it. And people always look at it like, oh, is it really worth it? Is it not? I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, it's worth it more than anything. The problem and challenge is it's a lot like branding where you don't necessarily see immediate returns. Brian's always come from the world of like, um, uh, what do you call it? You're paid per click and all that, like direct advertising of where you see the return on it.
Yeah.
And I love that. And it's extremely important, right? And he always preaches that, and I agree with it. And then there's also certain spend where it's like, what is the real return? We really have no fucking clue what
For
the real
sure. Yeah.
return is on it ultimately, because it's not like you're paying someone and then they're paying you back. Or like
It's intangible.
in our
like,
space, real
yeah.
estate, you buy a house, you
Yeah.
kind of know what you're going to make on it. Like it's totally the sky's the limit. So I couldn't agree with it more. Like, I mean, we've made some insanely major decisions to up what we're doing and create more structure and scalability and all these different things, literally because we're getting help. And not only that, just like, holy shit, this guy's doing that. Okay, I need to ask somebody else this question to figure out how to do this.
For sure.
Right. You know what
100%.
I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
no, I love it. I appreciate it. What kind of things I like to do with everybody? Obviously, you're blowing up on the damn news media, but like, where can we find you? Where should we go watch these cool videos Brian speaks of?
I guess we'll say, like I said, I'm hit or miss on social media at times, but my handles on Instagram and TikTok is just Jesse Wig, JESSEWIG.
Cool.
So yeah, either of those spots you can connect with me.
And are you still doing any real estate agent work?
Yeah, I sell not a crazy amount by any means. I have a lot going on, but yeah, I'm an active agent.
Yeah.
Year before I did 10 million, and this past year, as I'm shifting a little bit more, working on the business on things rather than in the business, a handful of stuff is probably did like 6 or 7 million.
Nice.
So nothing crazy, but I'm still an active agent.
So I can't throw it out there too much, right? Considering having a brokerage and have a lot of agents at Remax CityLife, but certainly if you're in the Mount Hall area or in Pittsburgh and looking for a good agent, of
I
course,
appreciate that. Yeah, you gotta be careful.
reach out to this
Yeah.
kid, or if you want to just go buy school for fun, also
Or move into a
reach
school.
out or move into a
Exactly.
school.
That's an
I'm
option.
sure there are really cool apartments over there, and I'm gonna have to take you up on giving me a tour. Maybe
Sure.
not when all the media is there, because I don't want to blow up your spot. But,
Yeah, absolutely.
No, appreciate any parting words, BK.
No, that's good, man. It's all good stuff.
Well, thank you very much for having me, guys. I've enjoyed being on this. And like I said, I'm repeating myself here, but You guys are crushing it. Love to see it. Love to see the growth.
Yeah. Appreciate
Yeah.
you, bro. Thanks for
Yep.
coming on.
Same, man. Keep pushing.
Yep.